Hey everybody, this is Paige from verypaige.com. I figured I'd do something a little bit different than a normal blog post, and I would set up some of my GoPros and record myself creating a garment. Today I'm creating the Fancy Tiger Crafts Fen top, blouse, crop top, dress, whatever you want it to be. I've made it before and I make the dress version and I wear it all the time, so I figured it was time to make some more up. I'm using a double gauze from Coca. I think it's a Japanese brand and I think it's organic. I'm cutting it out here using a little tiny rotary cutter just because I like the precision that a rotary cutter gives. There's no shifting, there's no pinning, and the little tiny blade is so that I can go around curves really easily. I'm also using my handmade pattern weights. They're just rice and little pieces of fabric that I had left over in scraps. I didn't have quite enough of this to make a tunic, so I'm making kind of a shorter tunic, but not quite short enough to be a top. Once you get everything cut out, you're going to want to stay stitch your neckline just because you don't want it stretching out when you apply your bias tape. You can use self-made bias tape or you can use store-bought bias tape. I'm using self-made, again not in this fabric because I didn't actually have enough, so I just had to make do with what I had. Now you want to sew the darts on the front and back bodice. The darts on the front bodice are kind of interesting. They are really angled and they took a square out of each front corner and you kind of put it together, and you always tie your dart threads because you don't want that extra bolt. You definitely don't want to back stitch a dart thread. It doesn't work out and it looks like you have a huge nipple. And here I am pressing. I think pressing is probably the most important part of sewing, so take your time, press everything out really nicely, and it'll show. Now you want to sew the front and back bodice pieces together at the shoulder seam so we can finish the neckline in a minute. You may go, why are you sewing those wrong sides together, you idiot? And I'm an idiot sometimes, but there's actually a point to this. I am sewing them together like this so that I can press them, flip them back inside out, and sew them as a French seam so that everything's nice and enclosed. I feel like this fabric frays a lot and it's delicate enough to where I can get away with a French seam. So there it is sewed up. You're going to want to apply your bias tape binding. How I normally do my bias tape is I stitch on the first round with machine, and I turn it in instead of stitching it with the machine again to secure it on the inside of the garment. I will catch stitch it. I really enjoy hand sewing. I think more people should do it. It's almost probably my favorite part of stitching and sewing is I really enjoy hand stitches. So I just do a little catch stitch the entire way around, and it makes for, it does look a little bit more handmade, but I feel like it just lays better. When you sew the second round with a machine, it can tend to get kind of wobbly and I'm not into it. I always sew with a thimble and I always wax my thread. It makes the going a whole lot easier. And here I am pressing again. Very important. Always press your work, and then when you're done with your garment, press it again. It makes all the difference. Now you're going to want to sew the pockets to the front of the skirt so you can flip them in, and then once the pocket front is flipped in, you will sew the pocket back to it to complete the pocket. The pockets are completed before you stitch them to the waistband, and here's my husband asking me to please stop sewing and hang out with him, but sometimes you just gotta sew. So you want to finish that seam allowance in the pocket. For the pockets I pinked just because they're not really going to be hanging out a whole lot, and I didn't want to French seam the pocket because it didn't make sense to do that. Now you're going to press the pocket. Again, I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat this. Pressing is really important, and if you don't press, people can tell. Now we're going to gather the front skirt piece, and it's really easy to do. Just sew a couple lines of stitching. I think 3 lines looks best, but I think I just did 1 here because I was feeling lazy, and it's not a huge piece, so it wouldn't be too hard to gather evenly. And then I just kind of, space the gathers out, make sure they look halfway decent. They'll inevitably get messed up somehow when I am sewing it together, so just try your hardest. I use lots of pins when I gather. It just makes it go that much easier. Now you're going to sew it together at the waistline. I also French seam this, It was definitely a little bit of a bulkier front seam. I'm also holding pins in my mouth, which you definitely shouldn't do, because I read a horror story once about a woman who was a tailor who accidentally nailed a pin and it was stuck in her lung and she had to get surgery. So don't do as I do as I say. Press it again. Now you're going to pin those front and back pieces together. Again, I am French seaming, so if you're not French seaming, make sure you're doing wrong sides together and not right sides together. Go ahead and stitch them together at the side seams. It's kind of like there's no set-in sleeve, so it's really easy. It's a pancake pattern. You kind of put two flat pieces together and it ends up looking awesome. And then again, you're gonna press it. Don't hate me. You just need to press it. Take my word for it. And to finish those side seams, you can pink, you can overcast, you can do all kinds of seam finishes, but I chose French seams. Now for my hem on the skirt bottom and the sleeves, I am going to use an invisible rolled hem stitch. And that's probably not the right word, but here it is. It's kind of like a U-shaped stitch, and when you pull it, everything gets encased. It's really tiny and it's really pretty, and I like it a lot. And you know, once you're done with that, what are you gonna do? You're gonna press it. And then once the garment, it's technically done, you're gonna press it again. Pressing makes all the difference. And here it is, a little not quite tunic, not quite top. I really enjoy this make. It's got pockets, which is great when I'm on the job photographing, and I don't know, I just really like it. Let me know if you like this video, and I would love to create some more for you. Maybe get out my real camera, because it's sad that a professional photographer just keeps using her GoPros to film. Subscribe, like, leave comments, let me know what you think. Bye.